Hello, welcome to the Battling Barrow Gaming. My name's Kev, and I need some new Goblin Green paint as I am running out. And Oldhammer fans will understand this. You need to paint your bases in Goblin Green. Now, I do paint other sort of ranges of miniatures in different colours, like Lord of the Rings SBG is painted in Bestial Brown or Morfang Brown now. I may have to do a video in the future because that's what they were painted in originally. More modern miniatures I paint in Steel Legion Drab because that seems to be the current trend, but Oldhammer models need to be painted in Goblin Green, and I am running out. And this isn't even proper Goblin Green either. I guess we need to have a bit of background before we go on. This was Games Workshop's style of paints in the early 2000s, but this isn't even true Goblin Green, but it's still closer than what we have nowadays. Which is looking at Daka, there's a conversion chart there. What they say is Goblin Green is this Warboss Green, which is very similar, but it's a bit flat, which we're going to cover in a bit. But originally, Games Workshop paints come in these little sort of hex pots like this, and I thought I had some Goblin Green, but I've got Snot Green, Scorpion Green, Rotting Flesh. These greens I've got other colours as well, and even got some Orc Flesh Wash. You know, all still working, still going strong, but I didn't have any Goblin Green. So then I thought, don't worry, I've got some from the early 2000s range. I've got loads of these left. Come to it, and I've only got this pot, and it was a bit dry already, so I've had to rehydrate it. So I've got it coming back. That is lovely though, that green. But once this is gone, I need some Goblin Green. So I thought, okay, I'll try the Warboss Green. This is what it says it's equivalent to Goblin Green, but it's not. It's awful, in fact. It's very dull. Again, we'll get to it in a minute when we try them out. So when I say this isn't proper Goblin Green, but this is, what do I mean? Well, originally, Games Workshop used to make their paints in the UK from a place up in Manchester called HMG Paints. But then what they did, late 90s, early 2000s, they moved over to a factory in France and made, and this is what the paints look like. These are your goblins. So the Goblin Green was a different formula, a different company, so it was ever so slightly different. And now I believe this horrible pots are made in China, I want to say. Not see, probably I think it's China they're made in, and it's just totally different from this, which was totally different to this. So I'm on the quest to look for a different company that can make that Goblin Green that I'm looking for. There is a myth I've got to clear up straight away, which people, if you go to forums and even talk to people, pro painters, you know, I've seen people on YouTube, you know, proper painting channels that have made this mistake that will say, well, Coat d'Arms are the company that used to make Games Workshop paints. This is not true. This is not true. Coat d'Arms isn't even a company, it's just a brand of paints that is distributed by Black Hat Miniatures, I believe. Yeah, Black Hat Miniatures, of course it is. I've contacted them, which we'll get to in a minute. And it's not true. They were not the company that made Games Workshop paints. What it is their paints are made in the HMG factory in Manchester, where Games Workshop used to have their paints made, and it's made using a similar, if not the same formula, but it's not the same paints. So please don't fall for that. These Coat d'Arms paints, well, I've got one here, are not the same as these. Do not make that mistake. Same factory, same based on a similar formula, not even formula, formulations I guess is a better word to use. Oldhammer has got on a review his Coat d'Arms paints, covers this on his website, and he's got a little quote from someone who's in the know, but it's still very interesting. Coat d'Arms paints could be the one to go for, could be the closest, same factory, same formulation, but at the same time there are other companies that have their ranges made there. So that could be worth looking into as well. So I think it's like Privateer Press have made their War Games Foundry, I think have their paints made there, but they're quite hard to get hold of. So my mission here was to have a paint that was easily and readily available to me at all times. I could just go to either my local gaming shop or online and just order with ease. So I drew this down to 4 companies. So we've got Games Workshop with their War Boss paint. We're going to compare it to, I have to compare it to the France Goblin Green. So we got that. I did contact 3 other companies, I already had this, to ask them for a sample so I could do this video with. I contacted Army Painter because they do a Goblin Green, Vallejo because they do a Goblin Green, and Coat Arms. Out of all of them, the only people that got back to me were Army Painter, and they actually sent me Goblin Green for free to try out in this video, so well played. And they also sent me green skin as well. So I sort of fell in love with them already, so that's inspired me to try some of their other products, such as a wet palette and brushes, which I went out and bought myself after they'd done this. Vallejo didn't get back to me, but their paint was cheap enough, as well as only £3 postage free, so I got their Goblin Green. Now, Coat Arms come back quite short and said, we don't want to have any dealings with a channel that doesn't have 10k subs. So I was like, ooh, okay. All I was asking for was either send me the paint free or perhaps postage. The problem is when you order from them, their postage is £4. So if I want to buy a £3 pot of paint, I've got to pay £4 for on paint. So I did ask, they didn't get back to me. So, and that's the only place I can find. So that I kind of had to rule them out of my criteria, which was easy to get hold of paint, because it's not. I couldn't find it online elsewhere, so I don't have Coat Arms paint, which is a shame because they're the ones that could have been the winners. But so we're breaking it down to War Boss Green, Army Painter Green, and Vallejo Green. So what we're going to do is, I guess, paint 4 splotches of this, 3 splotches of this, and then paint these next to it to see what gets closer to this, or what gets closer to what Goblin Green should be in my mind. And if I do manage to track down Coat Arms Goblin Green in the meantime, I'll add it to it at the end of the video. If not, it's just going to be those. So let's start this experiment, shall we? So got my test card that I'm going to use, just this GW palette page. We're going to have GW France, I'm calling it, because I stated in the intro, this is still not the original Goblin Green. This is when they moved their paint production over to France. You can see here. So, but it's still the closest at that time to the original Goblin Green. So I'm going to use that because I don't have any of the original. We're going to use GW's War Boss Green, which is, as stated already, the current equivalent. Army Painter, Vallejo, and if I do manage to track down one, the Coat Arms. First of all, let's open the Goblin Green companion, like the one we're comparing it to, and that is so vibrant, that is lush. So I'm just going to put a big swatch here. I'm going to water it down, blob here, just so we can next to it, and for now a blob here. Pop that shine. Oh, look at those lovely Goblin Greens. Right, let's get the War Boss Green going. So this is War Boss Green, and instantly I can see that is not as vibrant. I don't know if the camera will actually show this, so the camera's not notoriously bad for this. But I think you can just about see that on camera. You can see this is much more saturated and vibrant and lovely than this. Quite dull, really, quite desaturated. So I've never noticed this. I've never done this side by side. I always just thought this was Goblin Green. And unfortunately, it's just recently when I've been painting a lot of Goblin Green bases, they just weren't popping enough. So, and it's close, but it's just not as vibrant. It's gonna be terrible on camera. Whose idea was this to film this video? One, it's thinner. Some people might like that, so I'm going to try and go quite heavy. But I can already see it's just duller. This has a nice shine to it, and this doesn't. So, I think Warboss Green is out as my Goblin Green comparison. You can see that instantly, but we'll let them dry. We'll compare them all together. Next up, Army Painted Goblin Green. I'd say this is more in keeping with that. I don't know. It's difficult to see because it's obviously in a plastic bottle. Let's have a squeeze a bit out. What do I reckon? I'm going to say this is more Warboss Green than Retro Goblin Green. Yeah. Oh my god. I was hoping this would be the one. But I don't know. When it goes on, it's a bit more... Oh, no. When that goes on, that is actually really bright. That is better than... Well, it's better than Warboss Green. Maybe not as Goblin Green, but better than Warboss Green instantly. So that's nice already. Vallejo now. Let's have a look at what I can do. Goblin Green. So really different to that. This is probably... This is not Goblin Green as I remember it. Hopefully it's coming out okay. So I'm trying to adjust the light here. I think I'll be able to do this in post to explain what I mean. It's a lovely shade of green, but it's not my Goblin Green as I remember it. The closest one so far is Army Painter. So what I'm going to do next, I think, is allow these to dry and paint up 4 bases, I think. GW French formula, which is the closest as I remember it. Warboss, which is a bit dull. This, I think this one might be the one. Army Painter might be the one. This is a lovely green, and I will use this, but it's not Goblin Green base green. That's a lovely green. I like camouflage and lovely sort of, yeah. I'd like that green, but not for this experiment. So Vallejo, you're out of this competition, I think, but you're still in because I like that green. This one, look, this Army Paint one looks vibrant. I'm liking that. So I'm going to let this dry, have a look, and we'll paint some bases up. And this is how the bases look. So we have Games Workshop's French Goblin Green style, their modern Warboss Green, Army Painters Goblin Green, and Vallejo's Goblin Green. Hopefully this is coming out on camera. It's very difficult to film sort of shades of colour. Always looks different on the camera to the naked eye, but hopefully you can see this. And this is totally different, so I'm going to rule this out as a base in Goblin Green, but I do love this for other purposes. I mean, this could be good for green skin models. I like this, so I'm going to rule this one out. On camera, this is probably looking the closest, and it probably is almost a naked eye, but there's just something about it that is... Let's see if I can get these closer. If I put them all close, it's just lacking something, this Warboss Green. It just feels, looks flat. It doesn't, like this is really vibrant. It's lovely. This Army Painter, again, is vibrant, but it's not really the same. So I really want this, but I can't. It's a shame Cote d'Arms wasn't available to me, but one of my remits was these had to be easily and readily available, and I think at £4 a pop just for a pot of paint, that is not readily available to me, so I had to rule those out. And buying direct was the only place I could find, so unless anyone knows another supplier of Cote d'Arms paints that isn't extraordinary, really high postage, let me know in the comments if you do that, and I'll sort of do a mini follow-up to this, I think, with coat to arms. At the moment I am leaning towards this one as my favourite for bases, just because it has it's not the same, necessarily exactly the same shade, but it has that vibrancy of I like, whereas this just looks too dull for me. I don't like that. It's the closest in hue, I guess, but it's just, there's something about it. It's almost pasty. Anyone can describe it. You describe someone who's got pasty skin. It's almost like a pasty green. It's probably a better name for it than Warboss Green. Pasty green. Don't like it. So I think what we're going to have to do now is a blind test where we move these and we just mix these up, and we just see if I can pick, go blind. So I'm not looking now, I'm looking away from the screen and what I'm doing, mixing these up, and we'll just see. Okay, so I can instantly tell that's Vallejo, that one. So yeah, that's Vallejo. So I'm going to remove that. I like it, not right. Now we have these. I'll pick my favourite, and I think I put them in that order. So that's my favourite. That's my second favourite. That's my least favourite, I think. So yeah, favourite is the old school GW one. If you can see that, yeah, GW. That's my favourite. So have I made a mistake and picked Warboss Green as my second favourite, and then got to have egg on my face? No, it's Army Painter. And so yeah, least favourite is Warboss Green, as expected. So yeah, let's conclude this little experiment in my search for Goblin Green. Ideally, Vallejo is out, as mentioned, for basing, but that will have great uses for other things. Elf clothing would be lovely in that green. Oh, that'd be great for Lord of the Rings stuff and Wood Elf stuff for Warhammer. Yep, so I'll be using that for other purposes, not for bases. Ideally, I'd love this, but the whole point of this is because I'm down to sort of half a pot and running out fast, and so really, Warboss Green is out because it's just so pasty. So I'm going to be basing my Oldhammer bases in Army Painter Goblin Green. To me, it's the nicest. It's not the same shade as GW, but it does have that vibrancy I like. And I think on bases that's going to look really cool on the rim of the bases, because that's the only bit we're going to be seeing. I like that. Pasty, looks malnourished green. It just looks pasty. So yeah, we are having Army Painter Goblin Green comes out on top. That is the one. So yeah, I don't know, I hope you've enjoyed this little experiment video type of thing while I'm looking for Goblin Green. That'll be it for this one though. Until the next video guys, please take care.